In terms of the details of what Richard was saying, it is unfortunate that a lot of people got misled from his comments. Like specifically, his first statement was that the validators mint for free, therefore Zen has no value. That is actually incorrect. Validators cannot mint for free. They have to still pay gas. Whoever mints Zen has to spend gas to do it. Now, that has been true since London fork. Now, maybe Richard was not aware of the London fork. That happened last year. And what's happening is that there is the base fee that the network charges, no matter whether you're a validator or not. It will burn that gas fee, and that what makes Ethereum deflationary. So that has been true for a year and a half or something like that. Now, Richard unfortunately told everyone that, look, this is crap. Validators are enriching themselves by dumping it on your head.
Yeah.
Nothing could be further from the truth. I wish a person in his position who gets listened by a lot of people will actually have done the research and form an opinion appropriately based on the facts and not based on something that what he thinks might be.
When did you come up with the name Zen? Because Zen's great. That was one of the things I liked about Hex is it was 3 digits or 3 letters and easy. Everybody can spell it. And
Well,
so
it needed to be memorable, but it also it needed to mean something. And so
yeah.
Zen state is kind of like the anti-FOMO, anti-hyperactive trading type of situation. So you can just mint and chill and be in your Zen space. You're not forced to buy. You can issue yourself your own tokens, and they're yours. You created them, and this whole thing is very Zen-like in its structure.
Yeah, it's good. And there seems to be a lot of meaning in everything you've done. And I was talking to somebody, and they were like, "Hey, I wonder if Jack would ever do something meaningless like a meme coin." And that was the way they put it. And I was like, "I don't know. I'll have to ask Jack. Would you ever, like, when you've done all the important stuff and the roadmap is done, would you ever consider doing something that's just maybe doesn't have the tokenomics? It's just a meme coin."
But most of the meme coins actually have pretty good tokenomics, and they're not just completely useless. Like, for example, Shiba has Shiba Swap, they have Bone, and they have Leash, and they're coming up with an L2 chain. So, and yet they're treated like or called a meme coin. But the reality is that generally meme is a way to market towards a community and actually get community together. And the real value actually comes from the community. So the meme function is to organize people under a slogan. That's it. It's very, very basic, but it's functional. It's functional because you can build on top of it and use meme coin as a building block.
So, yeah. So even my mentality and how I asked that question probably because you're right. Like there's even Doge. They didn't stop at Doge. There's other things. There's Doge Chain, and so yeah, it's probably not fair to just say that, but that is what they probably wanted with.
Well, Doge
marketing
Chain is a
strategy.
different team entirely. It's not the
Is
Doge
it?
team.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know much about
No,
it. I
I
assumed
think
it was.
the Dogecoin's function was by definition trying to make easily accessible cryptocurrency that's friendly. So there was Bitcoin, then there was Litecoin, and Dogecoin actually is mined by the Litecoin miners. So you can be a Litecoin miner and have Dogecoin mined with the same process, which was an ingenious idea. Like they didn't need to invent new miners; they just tapped into an existing mining pool of miners.
Interesting. So,
Yeah,
go ahead.
and that's what made Doge friendly because you don't have to do much. You just create it.
Yeah, there is value in simplicity because when I try to onboard somebody, I mean, I think I've probably only onboarded like 7 people successfully into crypto, and maybe a few more where they've gotten in it and then fallen out. But it's simplicity helps because if you like, I like Hex and like Zen a lot, but one of the problems is just getting people to understand. They'll either watch a video or a friend, they'll talk to me and they'll say, "Hey, you, like you're moving a million miles an hour," and I think I'm explaining it like I'm slowing down and being as basic as I can. And I mean, I'm not a level 10 crypto guy, but to them, that's what it sounds like. And so simplicity is really, really key. But I find it difficult sometimes. How do you like when you're onboarding people? Do you run into that same problem?
Uh, it depends on who you onboard. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there's layers of people out there. There's the degens that are aping in on anything new.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now you just have to like wink at them, and they're gonna be buying stuff. That's
Mm-hmm.
it,
Yeah.
right?
That's
And
true.
then there is the ERC20 traders that actually follow like technical analysis and things like that, and they look at the tokenomics and then I mean they're pretty smart, but then they're not going to be jumping into something like rapidly.
Right.
So like for example, Trevon comes to mind, like he's that person.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's complete noobs that don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
They just need to learn how to set up their MetaMask, and
Right.
that's the difficult crowd. But there's more of them, so in terms of volume, you can have more of these guys.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm focusing. That whatever the numbers are, 96% of people aren't even in it or never touched it.
Well,
And
it's a big
so
number. It's a big
it's a
number.
huge number. And so it deserves focus. But I've noticed, hey, I spent all my time in small business and I've done two things. I've done insurance and then I did solar. And there was a different type of mentality to the sale or even to just explaining the industry. And this is, I feel like I'm starting at square one again from scratch. It's a little difficult when you're talking to somebody in that 96%. But I was actually going to ask you when you brought up Litecoin, I was coming up with some questions and you got into Bitcoin in 2010, early 2011. Is that right?
11, yeah.
Okay. So Litecoin comes out later that year, like about 6 months after. Am I right about that? More or
Uh,
less.
More or less, yeah.
Okay. Anyways, what was more exciting to you, Bitcoin, and when you were learning all about that, or Litecoin? Because to me, again, I wasn't around then, but when the second one comes out and you see, oh, okay, it's not just a one hitter quitter type thing. There could be a whole ecosystem here. That's how I look at it, or I think I would look at it if I was back then. But how did you look at it? Which one was more exciting to you?
I think Litecoin was more exciting because it was a different protocol,
Mm-hmm.
and there were new pools coming up with new interesting ideas. So we switched to mining Litecoin, and we actually released the pool from our own company that people could join and mine together with us. So Litecoin was more interesting just because it was newer.
So I actually didn't know that. I just assumed you knew about Litecoin and interacted with it, but you actually went from mining Bitcoin to mining Litecoin.
Yeah, we mined a
Okay,
lot of Litecoin.
interesting. And what else did you mine? Like, what was the third? Did you mine anything else, or were those the main two?
No, just those two.
That's a good two to mine. That's a good
Yeah,
two.
I wish I mined Doge when it came out, but I kind of stopped paying attention
Eh,
to the mining scene.
When was that you stopped paying attention? Like 2015,
I would say like 14.
a little bit before. And
Yeah.
does that coincide? So, what takes you out of? So, I've heard you describe. Hey, I was big into Twitter. Obviously, working with your company and Twitter, but then you kind of was it that it was toxic, or why did you get away from Twitter, and why did you get away from being heavily involved in crypto? Was it your businesses that pulled you away?
Yeah, pretty much. I just had a lot of demand coming in for technical solutions,
Gotcha.
for the startups that I was running, and there was millions of dollars in play in revenue. And so I figured, hey, I can still mine. I actually remember that I stopped paying attention to a mining rig, and one of my guys was managing it, and it ran for a year. I didn't even look at it for a year, and then I looked at it. It had like 1,000 bitcoins in it. So
That's a good surprise.
yeah, well, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't surprised at the time because it was worthless. I mean, basically worthless still.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, but I was just busy building infrastructure for Twitter and Pinterest, and I mean, and by the way, did I tell you the biggest client we ever had in the very beginning was MySpace?
No, I didn't know that. That's
We were
interesting.
huge in MySpace. 2006, 2007, when
Mm-hmm.
MySpace was super hot, we were serving 30% of traffic of images, loadable images on MySpace pages.
Oh wow. So
So yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. So it was, so we did the infrastructure for MySpace image delivery, and that was like the first big thing before Facebook, because Facebook wasn't around yet, or
Yeah.
wasn't big yet.
It, yeah, it didn't explode till a couple of years later. But what's interesting is I remember I was in San Diego and I was late to the social media game for being the age I was. I graduated in '04 from high school. Anyways, it was '06, and my buddies were like, we got to go to the library. So, because they didn't have a phone or whatever the situation was, we went and they spent 2 hours on the computer on MySpace. And I was like, wait, what is this? And so I was obviously should have known more about it. But, anyways, I was like, oh, this is going to take over the world. And so I was thinking, I wanted to ask you,
Yeah.
were you surprised? I mean, you're doing 30%, you're seeing this behemoth that is MySpace. Were you surprised to see what occurred and how they kind of fumbled the ball, in my opinion?
I wasn't at all surprised, and I knew the founders, so I knew Tom, I knew the CTO, and I knew I think I forgot his first name. His last name was D Wolf. I think he was dating Paris Hilton at the time, actually.
Okay.
And so I actually spent hours and hours in their office in Santa Monica, talking about technology and using ImageShack to serve images from MySpace, that sort of thing. And so I knew those guys pretty well and their challenges. So it was very interesting to see how they were handling it. And I think News Corp eventually bought them for billions, only to completely kill it, or somehow like Facebook just took over and
Yeah.
nobody was using MySpace anymore.
So, yeah, I looked it up. It looks like it's Chris DeWolf.
Yeah. Chris
Yeah.
DeWolf. Yeah, that's
And
him.
yeah, and so the way I remember it, and I don't know if I'm right, but it seemed like Facebook started to take over and then they kind of sold it, and they didn't do a good job in the transition. But I'd have to look that up. But yeah, you got to work with Twitter though. And
Yeah.
so what was the difference in is it mean to is it wrong to say the competency of MySpace versus Twitter? Like, was it a competency thing? I don't know if you would want to say that, but or was it just the strategy behind the two companies that were
I
different?
think it was completely random, different trajectory. So MySpace
Mm,
became extremely popular overnight,
yeah.
and Twitter actually suffered for many years. They were down all the time. They didn't know what their roadmap was, and so I wouldn't say that either were technically incompetent. It's
Hmm.
just MySpace had a better story, and nobody understood Twitter the first 3 years. Like people didn't know why like they need to be on Twitter, and the
Right.
company couldn't actually even monetize. And they were raising money all the time, and then they had like 24 different directors on board, where MySpace was pretty clean. The top called the shots, but
Hmm.
in Twitter it was always a decision by committee, and then they fired the founder, and then they hired them back, and then the other co-founders left, and it was a big mess. And so I would say that it was very tenuous journey for Twitter on all levels, technical, business, social,
Money. Yeah.
all of the above. And where a MySpace was like a lightning in a bottle that like blew up the bottle and
Yeah.
then
It
vaporized
really did.
itself. But they gave rise to other social websites that
Yeah.
like I think Facebook borrowed a lot from it.
Yeah. Facebook definitely benefited from that. We did. So you ever done fantasy football, Jack?
I know what it is, but I
You
never
know what
done
it
it.
is? Okay. Never done it. Anyways, if, so I was sitting around watching, speaking of degens, Barstool Sports, big company. They do blogging and anyways, they do a bit of everything, but they really have gone heavy into the sports gambling. And I don't like gambling. I think it's really bad for people. It really, really hurts people. It's hard to be good at it when there's 9% being skim off the top. I'd say it's virtually impossible, but I do like some of their content. And I saw them doing this thing that was called a snake draft. Anyways, I've kind of explained it a little bit to you, but we decided we wanted to do what Barstool Sports satellite office in Chicago was doing, where they were kind of doing pop culture topics. They'd say, "Hey, what's the greatest company sound of all time?" And I watched it, and their number one was McDonald's, the ba da ba ba ba. So it had to be a company sound. It couldn't be a jingle or anything. So it was very specific, and it was actually quite entertaining. And I thought, there's one thing about crypto that I don't like. We all agree that, for the lack of a better term, enemies are at the gates, but yet we're all inside in the DeFi space fighting over the dumbest things. And so, how do I build bridges? How do I take this channel, onboard people, and be educational but have fun? And so, we were talking specifically about doing this for a little bit, and I was talking to Spruve and a couple other people. Anyways, so we've done a couple episodes, and the last episode was biggest blowups in tech and crypto history, and one of the ones taken was MySpace. And I was actually wondering, you've kind of answered it, but I was wondering, do you agree that it was a blow up or was it more of a fizzle out? Because I wasn't really using it, and so
It
you were
was it
there.
was definitely a hydrogen bomb explosion,
Yeah.
and then everything dissipated and everyone left and no one cared. So
Yeah. It's weird to have. Do you think that could ever happen to Facebook, or they've done a good enough job? Like if it was going to happen, it might have happened with Instagram, but they bought it. Like,
I think Facebook has enough firepower to buy amazing things if they
yeah.
start to lose on their core products. But like the other thing why MySpace blew up and then disappeared so quickly is that they didn't have the mobile strategy down,
Hmm.
and even Facebook didn't have it. But the most of the users who use MySpace switched to Instagram when Instagram came out,
Hmm.
and like they didn't care about MySpace anymore because MySpace had a mobile site, but it was slow, it was glitchy.
Right.
Where Instagram was like, okay, this is so much better. It's cleaner, yet it has the social aspect and none of the problems. And
Right.
so the mobile market actually, I would say, contributed to the MySpace demise.
Yeah, that's interesting. And the amount of people, I wonder, they obviously know the amount of people using Twitter on their phone versus computer. It's got to be like 9 to 1, probably, right? Would you agree? Or that be hard to
Um,
guess?
I it's hard to guess, but I would say definitely Twitter is a mobile centric uh,
Yeah.
application because you can't really write a lot on it. It's limited, but yet you can tap into tweet streams on the go easy.
Yeah.
So it works great. And of course,
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, Twitter came initially as an SMS text message integration,
I
where
didn't know that. No.
yeah, so that's why 140 characters. Like
Mm.
you cannot
Oh,
send
yeah.
more than 140 characters in text over the SMS channel. Like you can do it with iMessage. You can send as much stuff as you want, but not with
Right.
SMS.
Yeah, I remember getting charged per, what was it, per letter or per, back in the day, the phone plans would have
Usually it's
per
per message. It's
per
like
message, yeah.
5 cents per message
Five
or
cents
something
per
like that.
message. Yeah. I was glad when that changed. But
Yeah.
so that brings me, the mobile question brings me to crypto, because anytime I onboard people, it's always easiest to do it on the phone. But from a security standpoint, like, it's easy to just, hey, here's MetaMask, and then let's fund your MetaMask when they're interested. But if I were to say, hey, if you're gonna if you're gonna dive all into crypto, like, once they're a little bit more interested, I would try to get them off their phone for security reasons. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Well, I don't think uh, there's an issue with security on the phone, especially if it's an iPhone. I think the issue is that most of the Web3 web apps are not compatible with mobile. You
Yeah,
cannot do much there.
right. Yeah.
So you can have your crypto and you can receive it and you can send it. That actually works pretty well because you can show me your
Yeah.
QR code and I can beam in send a transaction to your wallet rapidly. So that's a
Immediately.
very
Yeah.
very good function right there. And so yeah, I don't think that there is an issue with security because your private keys are pretty secure, especially on the iPhone because it has a better security model than Android.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but I
So,
think it's the application layer that's where mobile isn't ready yet.
right. Yeah, like Uniswap, I don't think they don't have anything. I I need to look into a little bit of this, because most of the time it's just MetaMask. I don't do anything on my phone. So, like, I don't know if Uniswap has it, but if somebody were to start the process of going deep into crypto, they obviously would need to learn, a lot of that other stuff, like dexes, and so you're right. Some of that stuff, like Uniswap, doesn't have a mobile application. I don't think, do they?
Uh, they have something, and I
Do they
actually
have
used it.
something?
It's okay,
Okay.
it's usable, but it's not a pleasant experience. But
Right.
mostly it's
Yeah.
not pleasant because MetaMask integration is not does not work super well.
Yeah, and I remember I actually was on my phone, because I was in a weird spot on October 8th, or was it October 4th, when Zen came out. And it was my dad was here, and I was trying to get him set up, and on his phone, and I was like, what's the problem? And I forgot that he's on his phone, he's on mobile, and there was something we couldn't do. I can't remember what it was, but maybe it was the first day. Like, can you mint on mobile
Yeah, you
with
can.
Zen.network? Could you the
You
first
can.
day?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe it was
Yeah,
just
but
me.
it's tricky. It's tricky. So MetaMask has a built-in browser, and you
Uh-huh.
needed to use a built-in browser for it to work.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I did that. Anyways, yeah, regardless, it is a little bit more challenging on mobile, but yeah. Um, have you looked at oh, I'm blanking on the name. The other Zen website that's not Zen.network, but um,
FYI.
no, Zen Turbo. Sorry, I blanked on the name.
Sure.
Have you looked at Zen Turbo?
Yeah, of course.
I love Zen Turbo. I think it's amazing. And I was wondering, like, where do you struggle to talk about other websites that you don't have control over? Like, if you don't control the front end, do you not want to talk about other websites, or
No, I absolutely do want to talk about them,
you
and
do want to talk about them? Okay.
and they have done an amazing job.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
The,
that thing is just incredible.
yeah. Do you know those guys or girls,
They're
whoever they are?
they're on our Telegram, and I'm in their Discord. So
Okay.
we do kind of, and they interviewed
Interact.
me a
Yeah.
bunch of times too. So
Oh, nice. That's great. I love that site. They've done such a good job. I'd love to talk to those guys someday, but they have made it so easy to explain Zen and to show the stats. And I've your guys' site, Zen.network, does a great job too. But I've been surprised. There's a few others that have popped up that are really good as well. And I've wondered what you thought. I heard at the beginning of October your estimates for how many people are going to mint, and a whole bunch of other estimates that you gave. Have you been like on a 1 to 10? How surprised have you been at the amount of people that have gotten on board just minting, and then the amount of people that are building on Zen? Have you been surprised, or is this what you expected?
I was pretty surprised on all metrics.
Okay.
Like at least 30 times X surprised.
Really? That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, well, think about it. It's almost 1 million users currently minting Zen
Yeah.
in just 3 months, which is just incredible. I didn't think that we would be there at all. So
I didn't either. I was hoping for I was hoping for 100,000, but I didn't even think I would be as involved. And you brought up Trevon earlier. He has been really helpful. I got into crypto kind of in 2017. Like that's the first time I bought something, but I didn't really get until 2019. And he's been really helpful. I think he's super. You described him well earlier. He's super great resource, and he has gotten me. He's developed a really good strategy, I think, in one aspect of minting Zen, and that is minting and then selling. And he recently said he kind of stopped that, obviously, with what's been happening lately with Gwei and the prices of gas. But I've been interested to know what you think about that strategy of people buying and then selling, like going on Zen Turbo or going on another website, figuring out, hey, if Gwei holds at this price and the price of Zen stays, then this is the amount of days I need to make money. And then they go out a little bit from that, mint their Zen, and immediately sell it. Do you like that because that gets people interacting? Or is there a party that doesn't like it because it obviously is not positive price action?
I like all
All of it.
engagement, all of it. I even like price going down and going up and going down.
Because
I like it.
going
I like
down, go ahead.
well, going down makes it cheaper for people to buy. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that brings more people in. Like, why wouldn't that be a positive thing when something actually is now trading at the discount, but then the next day it could rally? That's exciting.
Yeah. I guess it is a little bit of a selfish, it kind of, if you're really upset at it going down, you're kind of showing your cards, right? You're like, hey,
But I can't
I'm
be
wanting to
upset
sell.
because I don't hold Zen. All of my Zen is mintable in the future, 400 days from now. So why would I be upset?
Yeah. It
Uh,
doesn't
it
matter,
doesn't
I guess.
it doesn't matter, and I don't plan to sell it in the future either. So to me, if the price is lower than what it is, people can get into NFTs easier,
Mm-hmm.
and that makes that market more vibrant. And so that's actually really good. But then on the other side of the coin, crypto coin, uh, if it rallies, it makes all the buyers happy, the ones
Mm-hmm.
who bought it cheaper. So I've seen a guy purchase uh, 10 billion Zen for 5 zeros and 2, and then sell it at 5 zeros and 6, tripling his money. So that
Yeah.
was 20,000 converted to 60,000 in just one
Great.
day. It, like, on chain, it happened. It was definitely a good trade for him. Um, and I think some people do like trading. So we have a little bit for everybody.
Yeah. When I was talking to Crypto Profeta, he, I'd said, oh, I don't like trading. And I think I need to be a bit more specific with him. I wasn't quite aware of his history. He's been in for a long time, does like trading. Um, I think I more mean leverage trading. I think that really wrecks people. But some people can do it. It's just when we're talking about the 96%, which is where my mind always goes to, is how can I don't have all the knowledge of you or even a crypto profeta who's been in a bit longer, but I've dove all in because I love it. Like I did the same thing with solar, 10 years ago. And I think this is the way of the future. But I was talking to him and he was like, no, I have helped people to make money off of Zen. When everyone's complaining about one thing, and that's the price has been going down, there's been a very obvious method and way to make money, and that's what he said. He didn't explain it, but um, I realized maybe if I am starting a channel and trying to grow it, and with that number one goal, bunch of goals, but number one goal is to try to get as much reach as possible. But I want to do it while still living by the first principles of crypto. Um, where what would you give to me in terms of advice of how to do that? How do I not step on the toes of somebody like Crypto Preventa and say, hey, trading is bad when I don't like certain parts of trading? And I know that if anybody hears it, like the degens, that a lot of them are my friends and myself sometimes. But how do I reach, as you know, as I'm beginning growing this channel, how do I reach the masses and not go against the first principles of crypto? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, but let me try to translate it in my own mind.
Okay.
So I don't believe trading is opposite of first principles.
Okay.
That is not the case.
Can you
Uh,
explain that a little?
well, I mean, first principles is self custody,
Yeah.
counterparty inherent resistance,
Mhm.
no middleman, that sort of thing, and decentralization. So trading actually is an application that allows you to go and convert between currencies and finding interesting projects and be involved in those projects. So there's nothing wrong with trading. I mean, there's whole areas within trading. There's day trading, there's swing trading, there's investing for a long term, there's yield generation, there's yield farming. All of it is available and should be explored, and actually is part of first principles. What this means that if you're holding your own keys to your own coins, and you that means you have the full right to do whatever you want with them.
Yeah.
Send it to someone else, exchange it for something else, trade it. There's nothing wrong with that action. In fact, I would say it should not be discouraged, because a lot of people get into trading anyway. They don't know how to do
Yeah.
it properly, and they mess themselves up and lose all of their money. But if they had more education, then they could actually have safety principles that would allow them to be more successful in trading.
Yeah. Kind of guidelines to, yeah. I guess it's always the answer. It's more education, not telling people not to do things that they're probably going to do anyways. It's just teaching them how to do it properly. And I
Right.
guess, yeah, trading is that's what all of us. I mean, trading's just swapping one thing for another. That's what I did. Dollar to stablecoin to Zen to whatever else.
Right. And so, like, here's the other thing that's kind of interesting. Uh, Zen's price so far has been going down.
Hmm.
However, its uh, market cap has been going up. So how does that work, right? I mean, it's kind of funny to imagine that a coin that's going down actually has having a positive uh, market cap action.
That just, yeah, that just
Hold on.
means so many. Yeah, sorry, I should have given you the. Let's see. Let's
Yeah,
go.
actually, let's. I don't have a good way to share this, but maybe you do. If you go to CoinGecko,
Yeah. Okay.
so go to CoinGecko and look at Zen,
Okay.
and that's, by the way, is part of education in terms of how is that the coin that's always going down actually having a market cap that's coming up, and what does it mean? Like, what do you think it means?
Let's see. So market cap is going up. I have it here. Do you want me to pull it up while we're
Yeah, just bring it to the
talking?
screen.
Okay. Let's see. Share screen. How do I make that?
You can get rid of
Yeah,
our
I gotta get rid of us here.
Yeah, just blow it up.
There we
So you can click on the market cap. It's next to the price tab.
Okay, sorry. I don't think you could hear me. When I
Yeah,
was
it's okay. Well, let's stay on because now it's visible. So
yeah.
click on the market cap. Scroll. I mean, move your mouse down.
Okay,
You just passed the market cap.
right here.
No, lower,
Lower.
lower. Under Zen crypto price
Ah,
chart.
there it is. There it is.
So and then open up to 90 days.
90 days. Okay. Okay.
So you can see that it's pretty much moving up and to the right steadily.
Yeah. Yep. And so it's obviously the hyperinflation of the coin and people minting it has to be outpacing the decline of the price, is what I was saying. I don't think you could hear me. Is
Yeah,
that
that's
correct?
exactly right.
Okay.
So the sell pressure is lower than the production.
The people minting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people are getting in at a
The way,
faster rate.
but not only that, I would say that not only that they're getting in faster, there's more holders of the token than there are sellers. That's what it means.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
people who are making it, they're not selling it.
Correct. Yeah. For me, for example, myself, I have not sold. No, I've sold once, but I sold a very small, probably less than 1/10 of 1%. I just did it to test it. But yeah, I haven't sold anything. I've bought quite a bunch, but the majority of what I've done is just max, you know, 365 at the beginning or whatever it was. I can't remember, but about a year out. And then now it's like 442, 444 days. I'm going to change it to price just so I can compare the two. So yeah, price has been basically steadily down while the market cap has been basically steadily up with the exception of
Well,
this
if
day.
if we look at the slope, imagine drawing a line, kind of like a channel.
Yeah.
You can see it's about maybe 25 degrees angle.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now switch back to the price. Now we have to get rid of that spike because
Yeah.
that spike was the launch
Right.
and it's like an outlier.
Mhm.
So you technically need to start at the first bottom. So the first bottom, uh,
Right. Right here.
a little bit further down. Yeah, just keep going, keep going. That's the first bottom right here. So
Okay.
this is the first bottom. If you draw an imaginary line, you can actually see that the degrees of the decline is actually less than the increase of the market cap.
Right. It would be what, 5? I mean, it would be tiny
Well,
compared. It would be
what
like
we're
one
seeing
fifth.
what we're seeing is that at the end of the chart, we're actually stabilizing. Now, the reason why we're stabilizing is because the cost of Ethereum and the cost of gas is catching up with the price decline. So people can no longer become the short-term traders, short-term minters.
Mhm.
Like it used to be, you spend 4 or 5 days, you're in profit. And so it would
Right.
attract a lot of short-term minters that would do it. But now it's 150 days.
Yeah.
And so the crowd that's selling is out. They're no longer selling. And so it's actually price positive for the chart.
So in a bull run, when we have crazy, I mean, I know you're working on an L1, but let's in our mind put that aside. But it for Ethereum, bull run, we go back to these crazy prices. People aren't going to be buying and selling for a few different reasons. Do you think the price? Do you think we will see people purchasing because they're still going to have to deal with the price of purchasing, or the gas prices of purchasing, or do you think we'll just see people pause, not do anything on
Well,
Ethereum?
so far we have seen that as soon as the gas spikes, nobody's minting,
Mm-hmm.
and that's actually very bullish
Bullish because if they're
because
not
there's less production. The Zen production crawls to a halt. The only time there's active Zen production is on the weekend.
right, and then the reason the production is slowed is because of one because of the gas. But if people are going to sell, they would have to pay that same high gas price, correct?
When you sell, you do not pay a high gas price. You pay a couple of bucks.
Hmm. Okay. So it is fixed no matter what is it? How does that work when you sell? If I sell a small amount versus a large amount, how does it work with gas on Ethereum?
Same dollar amount.
Same dollar amount.
An integer is an integer. It doesn't matter how many coins you're selling.
Okay. Interesting. Well, I guess I wasn't aware of that. I guess one of the reasons why I wasn't is because the structure, when I think the majority of my experience with Ethereum, I'm just a classic hexagon. It was just the majority was with hex, and there's a massive difference at the end of a stake, which I know it's different. I'm just kind of
But
having a
that's not a
conversation
sale.
about it.
That's not a sale, though. That's not a sale. That's unstaking.
Correct. You're right. So
So if we're talking about
I'm conflating the
unstaking,
two. You're right.
yeah, unstaking is not selling. Unstaking is just unstaking. Now with hacks, the longer you stake for, the more data you have to crunch within the
Right.
contract. Therefore, it costs proportionally higher. With
Right.
Zen, there's no such thing because the data is always the same.
And that's why Zen Turbo can tell you precisely how much based upon the GUI, how much you're going to pay to get out,
Right.
or to
Basically.
turn to what do they call it? Not turn a profit or meet
Yeah.
your yeah.
It's
Okay.
it's always an estimate. They can't really tell precisely what it is. So it's really just an estimate.
Okay. Interesting. Now, in terms of the roadmap, because I have been following basically where we're at and where you want to go. Have you given um have you given thought to when you think like the L1, you're working on it now, when that could potentially actually come out?
I think the testnet is probably imminent, like a month or two. That's just testnet.
Oh wow.
And then, so
Interesting.
it doesn't make sense for L1 to be fully functional unless there is ecosystem built out on it. And for
Okay.
that, testnet would suffice. So for us, the first launch is actually the testnet launch, not the
Oh,
true public L1 where you can actually send your money, because we need to establish secure channels between the chains and partner with Stargate folks, that sort of thing.
okay. Interesting. So you think you said month to 2 months? Is that what you said?
Potentially.
Potentially. Yeah. That's your
Yeah.
best guess. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're kicking the tires now and make sure that it works well. I mean, so far so good.
In my opinion and other people's opinion, you're moving at a lightning speed and doing it perfectly. Like the launch with the NFTs, there were no issues, no exploits. Zen went awesome when it came out in October. Do you feel like you guys? I know you said earlier, oh yeah, we high motor, we're moving quickly. But do you feel like this is just how software has always gone with the projects you've worked on, or are you guys actually moving quickly and not running into problems?
So the stuff we're doing is actually easy. The stuff that I've done in my professional life was a lot harder. I mean, like, think about fixing Google in flight without dropping any search queries. That was hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
or upgrading imagehack.com so that we can accommodate MySpace, or we have like another client coming in and double or tripling our traffic overnight with 60 million users using it daily.
Right. Yeah.
So that would have been a hard problem. We also, for example, served images on Nordstrom.com. So all of the product images, if we were not performing, then the Nordstrom.com would not make sales. Like their site would not
Oh.
work. Now
Huh.
imagine how visible that is
Yeah.
and how precise, like a neurosurgeon, you have to be to actually deliver a product that works really well. And so this last 20, 25 years, I've been practicing precision in execution. When it comes to crypto, I started at zero. There was no community and nobody there.
Mm.
And Zen code is only 400 lines. So you can
Jeez.
imagine how relatively basic it looks to me. And I'm not like trying to make myself sound better than I am. It's just like my experience was giant infrastructure, websites, and a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'm just applying the same ethos to crypto, and it seems to be working okay.
Yeah. Well, and I've been really impressed by what Chat GBT and OpenAI, what they've been able to do, but they've scaled so quickly that they've had constant, like they've been down a lot or delays. You know, they'll say, hey, we're at capacity, but we'll let you know when we're available. And then you're like in a queue and they tell you. But I've been using Google for 20 years, and or thereabouts. And I don't ever remember it going down once. Did it go down a lot and I just wasn't aware of it?
Oh yeah.
It went down a lot.
In fact, Gmail went down uh, at Zen launch.
Did it? Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I did.
That's funny. I use Gmail every day. I didn't. I guess I just
Well,
wasn't paying attention.
there's a lot of redundancy, but it does go down. But I
Okay.
guess
Yeah.
my point is that once you get used to the grind, uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and actually producing scalable products,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes easier. Now, what's easy about blockchain is that the infrastructure is not something that you need to run. Ethereum is infrastructure. We just deploy the code on it and it runs itself.
Yeah.
So we don't have to solve anything with capacity.
Well, yeah. So do you when you talk about an L1 and you talk about we what do you envision when Zen has an L1? Like what does that look like? Does it look like an Ethereum? What is it going to be totally different? Like
It's
when
an
I hear
L1 that's exactly like Ethereum, but 1,000 times faster,
actually 1,000 times faster? Like
actually,
okay. Yeah,
like
because
for real.
I heard that before and it turned out to be a little different. So I
I don't.
believe you. I believe you. I
You don't
just
have to
saying.
believe me because I can show you a technical document that actually describes what it is and how it works.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, what you heard before is an entirely different story. The person who told you about a faster chain basically said that since nobody's going to be on the chain, it's going to be faster.
Yeah, that is what was told. Yeah. I
I mean, I'm
that
not
oh,
shy talking about this because I can actually describe in detail what it means and how it works. And I think
okay.
for the viewers, it would be very interesting.
Well, I'd love to get into it. I just don't know where I appreciate the candor and the honesty. I just I've been around. I love what you're doing, Jack. Like I really do, and I want to help. And that was one of my last questions I was going to ask later on in the interview is what can I do to help other than talk about Zen and try to do basic onboarding and explaining. But I remember people taking you in and maybe you don't care, but I just the way that I viewed it, I was like, hey, Jack is great. He is helping me. He knows a lot more than I do. Um, and this is awesome. He's kind of coming to the Hex community. And then people turned on you basically when I'll just talk about it. When I believe Richard saw you as a threat. I think it was all good. Hey, it's great to have you on the team. Those were his exact words. How do we utilize you better? And then you come out with a token that I believe actually could help Pulse Chain, could help bring people into crypto, and then they could buy Hex. They could turn around and just sell theirs in and buy Hex. And he, I don't know, he turned the community on you, and I started to see all these things that I hadn't seen before. Like I was going to jump in like 120 days ago to streaming. I
Yeah.
kind of sold my business and I have another business, but anyways, I was like, I love this. I don't know. I just caught the fire, and anyways, so you had mentioned something about Richard Hart's explanation of what was going on with Pulse Chain and how it was going to be faster and better. Do you want to elaborate on kind of what he was saying and your
Yeah.
explanation?
Yeah, I would, but I also want to address this FUD and all that stuff and all the drama.
Great.
I am in most of the Hexagon OG groups, Telegram groups, and those guys don't hate me.
No,
Uh,
there's
they everybody's very friendly. We have respectful conversations. People are interested in my opinions, and I'm having a good time interacting with the community. The people who understand crypto to the nth degree do not really feel that I'm a threat, and actually, then, as you mentioned, could be very positive for Pulse Chain when it launches. And so, um, in terms of the details of what Richard was saying, it is unfortunate that a lot of people got misled from his comments. Like specifically, his first statement was that the validators mint for free, therefore Zen has no value. That is actually incorrect. Validators cannot mint for free. They have to still pay gas. Whoever mints Zen has to spend gas to do it. Now, that has been true since London fork. Now, maybe Richard was not aware of the London fork. That happened last year. And what's happening is that there is the base fee that the network charges, no matter whether you're a validator or not. It will burn that gas fee, and that what makes Ethereum deflationary. So that has been true for a year and a half or something like that. Now, Richard unfortunately told everyone that, look, this is crap. Validators are enriching themselves by dumping it on your head.
Yeah.
Nothing could be further from the truth. I wish a person in his position who gets listened by a lot of people will actually have done the research and uh, form an opinion appropriately based on the facts and not based on something that what he thinks might be. So let's see what else. So in terms of Pulse Chain being fast, his exact words were that no one's going to be on the chain, or rather, there will be some people on the chain, but definitely not as many people as on Ethereum, which will technically make it supposed to make it faster. Supposed
Correct.
to. But that's actually not true. And let me explain in technical detail why it's not true. Now, in terms of the gas control, definitely the new chain will not need to have a lot of gas because there's not a lot of volume.
Right.
Not a lot of volume of the transactions. Because Pulse Chain is a fork of Ethereum and it inherits all of the issues with the speed of Ethereum, here's the technical detail of why it is going to be as slow as Ethereum. Ethereum block times are 12 seconds.
Okay.
When you issue a transaction to an Ethereum node, the consensus layer mechanism and the execution layer mechanism will process all of the transactions sequentially. So whether you have 1,000 transactions or 10 transactions, like let's say that Pulse Chain is 100 times smaller. So you have 1,000 transactions on Ethereum and 10 transactions on Pulse Chain.
Yeah.
Those transactions are always executed sequentially. Now, they have to follow the block model, and then the block time is 12 seconds, which means that no matter what happens, generally your transaction will be validated within 12 seconds after every other transaction is validated. So
Okay.
Ethereum can do at most 12 to 15 transactions per second, no matter how busy it is or how unloaded it is. You see what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like a car that has a limiter, speed limiter on it. So it cannot be faster than it's
Yeah.
designed to be because of the way that the transactions are processed sequentially. Now, the other chain like Polygon, for example, that's the chain we're using for our L1, can do up to 165,000 transactions per second. Not 15, but
Hmm.
165,000. Now, the way that it does it is that it has a different consensus mechanism, different block time, and it processes the transactions in parallel. So when you send the transactions in into the chain, they can all execute at the same time without being serially processed. Now that what makes Polygon technology ultimately much, much faster than Ethereum's technology. And so my 2 cents, I guess technical sense on Pulse
Mhm.
chain is that it will not be faster because it uses the same consensus mechanism as Ethereum, but it will be cheaper because Richard can control the price. And there will not be people will not be competing for filling in the blocks. Because when you have 1,000 transactions coming in on Ethereum all at the same time,
Mhm.
whoever pays the most gas gets encoded in the block.
Right. Yeah.
Now, if you're not setting your gas high enough, then you will be waiting for hours.
Right. Yeah.
And that's not the same on Pulse chain because there won't be as many transactions. Therefore, everybody can pay minimum gas, but the speed is going to be just the same.
Right. Well, and even that, if there is adoption, will eventually become more like Ethereum. I mean, if it does get the amount of people as Ethereum, that will be the same, correct?
Sure, but the positive on this is that Ethereum will eventually come up with sharding, which will make everything in faster and run in parallel too. So
Okay.
technically, Pulse chain should inherit uh,
Right.
that.
Yeah. And that was one of the reasons why the recent change from because when Ethereum did the merge, we heard a whole bunch of changes with the Pulse chain. They said, "Hey, they didn't say there's going to be more of delay, but they said, "Hey, here's what we're doing now," which essentially signaled that they needed to pivot because they didn't know if it was going to happen before the launch of Pulse chain or not. Um,
So I think it was a strategic mistake to think that Vitalik is not gonna come through with the merge.
okay, let me
Um,
push back. Why when he's been talking about it for so long, would you think the time frame of June 2021, even if he thought it was going to be a year, why would that be a mistake? I'm just
uh,
devil's advocate.
it's a mistake on Richard's part to imagine that Vitalik is not gonna make the changes that will delay Pulse chain. That's what I mean.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I kind of misunderstood what you're saying. Yeah, you got to have you got to have contingencies in place if something as big as the merge occurs and then delays you even more when you have $2 billion or whatever it is
Right.
of people's money.
I mean, like, so I wouldn't imagine that I actually understand the reasoning behind any sort of decisions that Richard is making regardless Pulse chain. That is not my place to tell anyone that he's doing something wrong or something right. What I'm
Right.
saying though is that from what I have seen is that given that Ethereum has changed like almost like under your feet, and now you're back to square one, that is somewhat depressing for the community of people who are waiting for the new tech to come out.
Yeah. I mean,
So and
it
and and that's unfortunate. Uh, but I think uh, maybe it would have been better if Richard said we're waiting for the merge with Ethereum too, and then
maybe.
we'll figure things out. That actually would be a better way to lead the community uh, to have the proper expectations.
So I love Richard Hart and I love what you're doing. And so let me just ask you, since we kind of went here, let me ask you a couple blunt questions. And if you don't want to
Sure.
answer them, that's fine. you just talked about Polygon and how that's kind of what you're going to use, considering your L1. Um, why wouldn't he have? And you're just guessing, but why wouldn't he? He knows that. I'm assuming he knows all this stuff. We'll just say that.
I'm
Why wouldn't he have used
actually
Polygon?
I'm actually starting to think that maybe he doesn't know.
Oh, okay. Why do you
And I
think that?
think because of the way he talks about validators minting for free, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you don't know those things, like why would you know how Polygon works?
Well, here's the difficult thing. I never want to get in the game, and I can tell you're the same way, I think, of saying someone's dishonest. But you have two choices. Either he's dishonest or he doesn't know, right? And so so you're saying the nicer thing, that he doesn't know. But if he does know, then he's just lying about. Because when he first heard that, I don't know everything, but I do like to try to learn. And I don't have, I don't have the best recall in the world. So sometimes I have to, go over things a couple times. And I remember that specific thing when Richard said that. I went, and I don't remember what I did, but I went and looked it up, and then somebody asked you a question and it put me at ease. And then I just kind of went about diving all in on Zen and having a great time. And I remember Zen was a weird fork in the road for me, because I've always felt like Richard maybe didn't deal with things the way I would with Bitcoin, but I thought the Bitcoin maximalism stuff was terrible, and I thought he dealt with it really, really well. And so then when, since October, I've felt like there have been a few things where I've been having to try to figure out, is he being dishonest because he thinks Zen is a threat, or because he did something on the third anniversary Hex conference that was very interesting to me. He talked about, he will historically said, I'm not going to talk about any other of these Hex clones, which I think probably isn't fair about all the coins that he talked about. But then there was one that he wouldn't talk about, and it was Zen. But he spent quite a long time talking about Zen without mentioning the name. And I wondered, do you think that is because he thinks it's a threat? And if you don't, why would he not mention Zen but mention all the others that he claims are Hex ripoffs?
Because all the others are dead, and Zen
And
is growing like a
it's
weed.
alive and well. Yeah.
So that's
And
that's why.
yeah.
But actually, I'm surprised that he doesn't like Zen. It's based on first principles of crypto. I was first encountered Richard's videos online on YouTube, and I really liked what he had to say about decentralization.
Yeah.
And I would imagine a person of his knowledge and his drive in crypto would have loved the fact that there is a coin dedicated to first principles.
Yeah.
So I was actually very surprised that he doesn't like it. I'm still surprised. I'm not going to say I'm
I
shocked, but I'm surprised that he treats it as a threat.
Well, he does like the first principles of crypto, but I think he has said he likes his own coins. I think it's his own stuff and first principles. But if you have your own coin, I feel like he thinks it's a threat to, if it's a threat to anything, his community, or sorry, his ecosystem, or the first principles, and he lumps it into a group. And he took you in because you guys agreed on everything, and he thought, oh, this guy's really, really smart. He's got a very good resume. He'll be valuable to the Hex community. And then when you started your own coin, I think he automatically just in his head said, nope, threat. Can't have people, which is silly because there's Hedron. There are other people that are embraced in the Hex ecosystem, but they directly interact with the Hex contract. And I think that's the difference.
Well, they bring people to stake.
Yes, that's what
So
Hedron. ICOs do.
and that's a good thing for the price appreciation.
Right.
Now, but let me share my interpretation, which is my own
Please.
personal interpretation, does not need to be reality, but it's the way that I see things. Now, I know, Richard probably owns 90% of Hex.
Yeah.
It's a closely held product.
Right.
Closely held means only 10% is sitting around, and even less so is available for sale currently in the liquidity pools.
Yeah.
Now, the mechanics of Hex is staking. Okay, that's
Mhm.
what's supposed to apply positive price pressure on Hex. Now, when Hex goes up, everyone's happy, and Richard is getting wealthier because of
Yeah.
the economics of it, right?
Right.
When people are unstaking, they can sell, but also if they emergency unstake, they lose a lot of. If they emergency unstake, they're for sure selling because they already
Yeah.
lost
They're
a
getting
portion
crushed.
of.
Yeah.
Right. So why would you hold on to something that's you're already de facto selling? It's
Right.
leaving your pockets. So
Yep.
you're a seller when you're emergency on staking. Now, if I was Richard and I thought that okay, here's the world of crypto. Anybody who comes up with the new stuff that takes attention away from hacks can potentially cause people to emergency on stake or just on stake in general and sell it so that they can get in and diversify. And so anybody who says I only love my own coins is against diversification. Diversification in the
Yeah.
long run actually is a anti-racking technology, same as dollar cost averaging. So I think
Right.
for people to learn crypto, they have to be in the projects that they understand. And the only way that they can understand the projects is to get exposure. For example, people should understand why Bitcoin is Bitcoin and how to get it securely, how to trade it securely. People should understand why Ethereum is the way it is. Why is it deflationary today? What are all the technical aspects and tokenomics that makes Ethereum better? People should understand what the Doge chain is and Litecoin and Cardano and Shiba.
Mhm.
All of those things. And there's nothing wrong with buying those coins and actually exploring exactly what they're doing because some coins actually have very interesting yield generating models. Um, Now, of course, if I hold 90% of my own coin and I feel that I am directly threatened by the whole crypto market out there, potentially diluting my holdings. So, like, imagine I'm holding this 90% and it's $1 billion.
Mhm.
Now, the whole crypto market has developed and everyone left. And when I had the $1 billion, I have like now I have 10 million left because, well, the price is not there. So
Right.
I can imagine why that could be threatening. So it's threatening because of the closely held supply of 90% by the founder.
Uh-huh.
Number two, the tokenomics and the mechanics of the kind of like built-in DeFi in Hex makes it uh, makes it almost you're in a situation where you need to encourage people to never ever unstake. Hence the 555 club, five five
Yeah.
five five club, right? So that's basically okay. You have given up rights to your tokens for a long time, right?
Yeah.
We don't even know if crypto gonna exist 15 years from now, right? I mean, anything's
Right.
possible.
Mhm.
But you see what I mean, right? So
I do. And if I'm Richard, I come up with this coin, it's wildly successful, right? And one of the reasons why anytime somebody pulls up the chart of Hex, will always say, "Hey, if you go and look at 2021, I think because this is what I was thinking. I think that you have to automatically discount that chart. It's not organic growth, and here's why: the sacrifice. It was made very clear that he was going to turn all whatever was sacrificed. If you sent him as a sacrifice Doge or Bitcoin or whatever it was going to be turned into USD, turned into a stablecoin immediately, except for Hex. He wasn't going to sell Hex, and that was going to hold up the price. And so you had tons and tons and tons of people, myself included, buying Hex, knowing that it was going to go up, selling a little bit so I could, you know, just selling a little bit, and then sacrificing Hex versus sacrificing other things because I was going to get more bang for my buck as I wrote it up and then waited to sacrifice at the right time. And so that's one thing. I think that 10,000x occurred. First off, it's from the bottom to the top, but still, 10,000x occurred because of the sacrifice. I don't think we would have necessarily gotten there as quick without it. And I don't think anyone could argue that really. But the other issue is if Richard Hart is sitting here and saying, hey, I have 90%, but I also have this project that's going on, and this guy's coming to the community, and now he's created his own coin, but he owns zero at launch. He pre-mines nothing, and he's letting people do things that are like he's giving them max freedom, which is something I, Richard Hart, have talked about forever. I've talked about the first principles of crypto and everything, and he's doing it all, but he's doing it better. And I'm also in this weird predicament where I can't really give updates because either I don't understand them, as he said recently. He's reading them off from the developers and says, hey, I don't understand this stuff. Good luck you guys understanding it. And so that's why I've said maybe he thinks it's a threat because he's like, hey, he did this project that is similar to Hex, but has 0% of it. And I have 90% of it. And anyways, those are the things that I thought, hey, he does view this as competition and as a threat, because otherwise, why get rid of Jack when you were clearly shouting the praises of Richard and of Hex? And anyways, we've
still
kind
like
of
Hex.
belabored
Well,
it.
I still like Hex, and I like a bunch of other coins too. I mean, I think the main difference is that I'm not a maxi even of Zen. Uh,
It's
I just want people to get educated on the whole crypto world. And when I launch my L1, obviously every token and every coin is welcome.
Yeah. Well, that's a silly thing about Pulse Chain needs. He's actually said recently that it doesn't. I don't need. We don't need any other coins to come onto Pulse Chain. But when I hear that stuff, I'm like, no, we do. We need other
Well,
communities to come on and
the
embrace
coins
Pulse Chain.
the coins already came as a sacrifice.
That's true. That's true. I guess he's like maybe that was the win. Game over. I don't know.
I mean, it sounds to me like that's why no coin needs to come because they
It's
already
'cause
came.
that's funny. That's true. I guess game over. I just didn't realize the game we were playing. I guess he already won.
Maybe
But
the game was over before it started.
yeah, maybe. That's funny. Do you get sad? Like, I don't want to get all weird, touchy feely, but do you get sad by like it would be much better if everyone worked together? Like within crypto, there's so many people not working together, and great things are happening. Innovation is happening. Do you get sad at the lost opportunity cost because of the
uh,
weird drama?
one part of me is a little bit sad, but the other part of me is pretty happy because I can look better because the bar is so low.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, you're just doing. It's like living a good life. If you don't smoke and don't do these things, and everybody around you is, you get all this credit, but really you're just trying to do the baseline of what is
Yeah.
healthy. And that's kind of what I feel like with Zen. I've told people this over and over and over and over again, but I want it in this interview. What you did, that I give you more credit than anything else, and I love your comment on it here, but is you allowed people to screw up the chart.
Yeah.
You allowed people to have the freedom to go and put the price at a penny or whatever dollar, a penny, I think. And if I would have asked you, if that was me and I said, hey, I'm going to go open a liquidity pool, I'm going to put it at this price, what are your thoughts? I know what you would have told me. Well, here's what that's going to do. And it's going to make the price chart, have
Mm.
whatever.
It's very organic. The first trade of Zen was like $200, $1.50 per
Oh,
Zen.
I didn't know that. It was $1.50, huh? That's crazy.
$1.50 per Zen, $200 traded. So that was the beginning of the chart. Now, is that a true representation of a data point?
No, not
No.
at all.
Now, Richard thinks it is. Why do you think he does?
Because it's like that is a trampoline which allows him to dunk on you.
So
That's what I think.
he is on his own conference. He was screaming that it went 10,000x down. He was screaming about it.
Yeah. It is a funny thing to say because of what he's been saying about his coin. But
Sure.
yeah.
But why would he not then actually say the truth and say the first trade was $200? Zero liquidity. Zero liquidity. Right?
Yeah.
So obviously it's like you're you have a sack of oranges and you've been parachuted into a Mojave Desert and everybody's thirsty. You're gonna be selling your oranges for $1,000 a pop,
Yeah.
right? You know
Yeah.
what that means? It's like there's zero liquidity on oranges in the Mojave Desert, and all of a sudden you're getting airdropped,
Yeah.
and of course you're selling them for thousands of dollars. Now, does it mean that the rest of the world, when the liquidity comes actually and there's oranges everywhere, is going to be the same? Can you
Right.
actually measure those two events by
No.
similar ruler? No, you cannot.
So did you and again just having fun. Did you make a mistake by not I mean, I know you didn't want to pre-mine anything, and I think that was the right move. But did you make a mistake by not trying to make sure that the chart looked better because the chart is a huge advertising marketing tool?
I wanted it to be organic. Whatever goes, goes. And that's true first principles, is that you just let the market do what the market will do.
Would it have been against first principles, in your opinion, to have
To manipulate the price?
well, when you word it like that, is it manipulate? Okay, I hear you, but is it manipulating the price to pre-mine a certain amount and set the price where you think it
Of course.
is? Okay, all right,
It's a
but
price
that guy,
manipulation. Yeah.
because you are who you are, because you're the guy who created it. Because the guy who he manipulated the price too, the guy who set it at $1.50,
He didn't manipulate it. It was what the market took.
that
It
was
was
organic.
it was very organic, and it could have been $10.
Yeah, could have
Actually.
been whatever somebody was willing to pay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's a true measure of the market.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to a question of manipulation, we always need to focus on the intent. If the intent is to make something looks better in an inorganic way, like let's say that we actually set up the trading floor ourselves between our own two wallets and make it look better that way, just so that it appears that the price is pumping, that would be an equivalent of lying of what the market is doing.
Yeah. Okay.
And therefore your pump is a fake pump anyway, and you're trying to scheme on how to onboard more people into your crypto for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. For non-organic chart that you did affect or
Yeah,
manipulate. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's why. Thank you. I like that. That is the number one thing. Like, if you want true first principles, a lot of that is going to come with people having freedom. And like, hey, if you have freedom and you have guns like we do in the United States, guess what? That's going to come at a cost. And maybe you don't. When I say cost, maybe you don't look at that first trade as a cost. But when it comes to advertising, yes, you will have then people look at the chart and say, well, why would I ever get into that? Obviously, you can't. That's not where it ends. You have to then this is an onboarding tool more than it is a make money tool right now. Do you agree with that comment?
absolutely.
Okay.
Actually, I wanted to mention, you know what I heard from the community and people who observe the Zen community? People said that for the way that the price looks, the price chart looks, Zenians are the happiest members of uh, this crypto project than any other. Like people are
That's
so
good.
happy minting, they don't care about the chart. And
Yeah,
and that's actually a very solid foundation for Zen as a building block, because you're literally ignoring the price action today and focusing on the future build of the ecosystem.
that's true. The interesting thing about GPAs in high school sports is that the cross country team is always like, just statistically in the United States, cross country always typically it's up there with tennis for whatever reason. Just the people that it attracts are just, I mean, I don't know if it's mentally strong and they know, hey, I got to run for a very long time. And so I need to plan now for the first mile because I need to be ready for mile 3, 4, and 5. Anyways, in the Zen community, I think it's the same thing. I don't know if I would be doing if I didn't think two things. I wouldn't. Let me reword that. I don't know that I would be such a huge fan of Zen without two things: my belief that this is going to be the greatest onboarding tool ever, and then two, I'm okay with waiting 8 years, but I do think this will have great price performance. I think it needs to eventually. I think it needs to pivot into having.
It's inevitable. It's inevitable because
Why do you say that?
Ethereum is going to be $10,000 at some point.
Yeah.
So even if the gas remains the same in terms of the dollars to for paid for gas, it
Mhm.
will make Zen 10 times more expensive to mint.
Yeah. What there is a couple guys, one named Crypto Benito, and he really likes Zen. He did this whole breakdown, and I don't know if you've seen it, but it was about a week ago, and he went through the math, and he was like, "I think that the price of Zen is gonna turn in about 60 days," and he gave a very detailed. I'm not doing it justice, but he gave a very detailed explanation, showed us the math. Very smart guy. And it was interesting. And I thought, I wonder what Jack would think of that. And I don't have it ready or pulled up or anything, but when you hear people talk about like when Zen's gonna, the price chart is gonna bottom, what do you think? Because I kind of hear it and I think I don't know how you would know that, but
Everything is an estimation, and it's hard to know exactly when,
mhm,
um, because there's so many moving forces that are pushing on it.
right.
So the only thing that we can uh, really know, and this is actually funny because I tell people to have expectations. People
Mhm.
can have expectations that I'm here for a long term, going to be building projects that will use Zen uh, as a building block. Like, for example, we announced the reflection token that will burn Zen. We know Zen NFTs are actually burned
Right.
uh, 8.5% of the supply right now, maybe even more now. We'll have an L1 that will be burning Zen too. So that is the expectations I'm giving people. And so, but I cannot give expectations of what the price will do because we just don't know. It's
Yeah.
subject to too many variables. But given the sort of forward-looking statement that I can actually make, because I don't hold Zen and I never sold Zen to anyone. So Zen is not a security. It's not a share of my company because I'm just using Zen as a builder. It's there to
Oh,
be built on, but I don't control it. I
right.
cannot turn it off, turn it on, change the rules, nothing like that. It's just
Was
the building block that we choose to build on.
was that strategic? One of the reasons why you haven't gone out and I guess you can buy and mint and or would if you bought and mint, would that keep you from feeling like you could make forward-looking price statements and just talk freely about it?
The only time you cannot talk freely about it is when you used
Pre-mine.
when you pre-mined the cryptocurrency, minted it for yourself, and then you sold it to people treating them as investors. telling them that it's going to go up in price based on all of the amazing things you will do with it. So
Got
that's
it.
an equivalent of a share of a company that you're selling to an investor that's not accredited, which is illegal. It's an illegal sale of security.
Got it.
Now, when it comes to Zen, there was zero Zen on October 8th. On October 9th, Zen came out because people minted it for one day.
Right.
And I wasn't even one of those people. I didn't mint for one day. I minted for 400 days plus.
Right. That's what I did. I did the max, whatever that was. I didn't even think about doing it for a day. I obviously knew somebody was going to do it, but I didn't even contemplate that. But um, do you do you think that Ethereum will hit that 10K mark in the next bull run?
There's a strong possibility
Strong
because
possibility.
it hit 5K. And I
Mm-hmm.
think now that it's deflationary, it's actually the supply is shrinking. It's better than Bitcoin. I think it's gonna flip Bitcoin and it's gonna hit double of the lost peak, which was
So
5,000 easy.
yeah, so maybe even 11 because it wasn't 56. Anyways, that doesn't matter. But
Yeah,
yeah,
roughly
somewhere
double.
around there. Yeah. And do you think so yeah, that's interesting. I made a video on the flippening. I think that it could possibly happen in the next before the halvening, which is basically 15 months away. And obviously in the next bull run, but do you think it could happen like in the next year or so?
Uh, Too close to call.
Too,
Don't know.
yeah. Yeah, a little harder to say. Um, Well, last few questions. I actually wanted to pivot a little bit, and I really, really, really appreciate your time.
Sure.
But if you, I'm gonna clip a couple of these for fun. If you, so, I don't want to just ask a lame, question other people have probably asked in the past, like, "What's your favorite TV show?" But if you were able to play, like they said, you have to play a role from your favorite TV show. What show would it be, and what character would you choose to play?
Oh, that's easy. I would be Jean-Luc Picard from Star
Next
Trek.
Generation.
Next
Okay,
Gen.
got it. That's a good one.
Or
My dad loved that one.
or MacGyver.
Oh, have you seen the new MacGyver? They're
I
remaking
haven't seen the
everything.
new one. I
Don't
wanted to.
don't watch it.
Don't watch it. It's bad. Okay, I
I
won't
think
watch
it's
it.
bad. Of
Okay.
course, I have great memories watching it when I was really little with my dad, and so maybe I came in with high expectations.
Yeah.
Okay, same question, but movie. Favorite movie, but who are you gonna play in that movie?
Uh, Terminator 2. Terminator.
you'd be you'd be the Terminator. Where is Arnold Schwarzenegger from? I can't remember.
Austria.
Austria. Okay, got it. Let's see. I feel like I've met a couple of people from Austria. I feel like his accent's so unique. Like it's not your typical, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's, and then so when did you first move to the United States? It was like
Uh,
90,
n-
89,
n- uh, 90.
90. And did you feel like it was just culture shock, crazy experience, or was it not that bad?
It was pretty crazy, but it was all positive. Like
Oh, okay.
I liked going to school. It was pretty amazing.
And
Super fun.
you came directly from Russia, right?
I lived in Italy for about a year before
Oh.
moving in.
Do you speak Italian?
Not really.
Not really.
Just
Okay.
just few words.
Yeah, you can get by. And was that period of time in Russia before you left, was it a chaotic time where you lived?
Not really. I mean, it
No.
was just before the Soviet Union collapse, and
Right.
it was pretty stable. So once we
Up to that
left,
time?
yeah, we were my family were the last pillar propping it up. We left, and the whole thing fell down.
If you would, we'd still have the USSR if you didn't leave.
I think so.
Let's see. What was your first vehicle you bought?
It was
In Good.
in America.
Yeah, in America.
It was an Oldsmobile Delta 88 1986. It looked like an old police car.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
That's funny. My dad was a police officer, so I had, for whatever reason, um, he drove the same cars, and I'm blanking on what they were called.
It was probably a Ford Crown Victoria with a
Yes,
really large trunk.
a really large trunk. Yeah, a Crown Vic, and you're right. He could fit everything in there, and then it switched. Like, I don't know if it was just his police department, but it switched from that to the Charger, and then
Yeah.
everybody had and wanted a Charger. But
Yeah.
that's funny.
Chargers were the new ones, and Crown Victoria were
The the
the
old
long
one.
time cruisers
Yeah.
for the police force.
And then, so let's say, how old were you in 1990, if you don't mind me asking?
15.
15. Okay. So let's say, yeah, it's 1990, 1991. What would have been a cassette or CD that Jack Levin plugs in or puts into his car or boombox?
Depeche Mode.
Depeche Mode. Okay. And do you still listen to that stuff?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
I just listen to a bunch of stuff on Spotify, and just sometimes I just let Spotify to choose the music for me. So
Nice. Nice. Okay. And then my final question is, give me a piece of advice, if you would, on how to not grow like functionally with YouTube, but to grow and have an impact, a positive impact for the Zen community specifically. Am yeah, is that question specific enough? Like, how what is
yeah,
something you'd like to see somebody do that maybe they haven't, or that would just be
um,
good to help me
I
grow?
would say the number one thing is understand our roadmap and what we're doing and why we're doing it. That would be the most key element
Yeah, just
to understand,
understand.
because if you're talking to the founder, which is myself, and I'm giving you the roadmap and you understand it,
Mhm.
and you can answer questions from the community by yourself because you actually spend time researching it, then you're benefiting everybody.
Okay,
And
good.
you're actually also spreading the truth, fighting the FUD, and getting education out there. So
I like that. Okay. Know the roadmap in and out, and then reference it a lot. I like that. And then, yeah, the better I become at knowing what you would say, what the truth is, the we basically duplicate you in a way, to a lesser extent, less
yeah,
hair, but cool. All right, Jack. Thank you very much, man. Like I said, I had a great time with Zinsu the other day. Do you talk with him, work with him almost every day?
yeah. I
Yeah.
was talking to him on the phone just before we jumped in
He
on this interview.
he's the man. How did you find him?
Um, I met him through another project that I was involved in, and he's actually a very good friend of my cousin's,
Oh, okay.
and so my cousin introduced me to him.
Was that
And
the same cousin that introduced you to Hex? Or not introduced you to Hex? I guess that was the postcard, but that you
it was the same person who answered the question that Hex is the same
just
has the same founder as Pulse.
pulse chain. Yeah. That's a smart cousin. That's a good guy. All right. Well, hey, thank you, Jack. I will let you go. I'm sure you have about 3 billion things to do. So I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, let's do it again sometime.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Good
Have
to
a
see
good
you.
day. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye bye.